Hello and welcome. Just a few days ago, on the 1st of June, Prime Minister Narendra Modi unveiled the nation's first National Disaster Management Plan. Now, India is one of the most disaster vulnerable countries. It's got a huge population in very populated cities. And in that situation, having a plan in place was a requirement for a very long time. And now that we have one, let's find out more about it. We have National Disaster Management Authority member R.K. Jain with us. So welcome to Candid Conversation. Let me just start by asking you, this plan, how will it make the country's people safer from disasters?
This, as you said, this is the first plan that we prepared as per the provisions of the National Disaster Management Act, which was enacted in 2005. This plan specifies role of all the stakeholders, role of all the ministries, departments at different levels. Therefore, there will be role clarity. So if there is any disaster, then which department of the government of India, which department, which institution of the state government, of the district level, even at panchayat level and at urban local body level, who is to do what. All this has been provided in a tabular form. So there will be absolute role clarity. At least there will be no confusion. It will help people to respond. In fact, when we are talking of disaster management now, we are not talking of only response to a disaster. There has been a paradigm shift for the last about 10-12 years. And when we talk of disaster management today, we talk of the entire spectrum of disaster management. In fact, we talk of prevention of disasters, we talk of mitigation of disasters, we talk of preparedness, to prepare for responding to a disaster, and in case a disaster takes place, then to respond to a disaster and recovery. And this plan actually covers all facets of disaster management. It covers what is to be done to prevent, to mitigate, to prepare, to respond, to recover, and to build back better. So with this plan now in place, it will be helpful to different stakeholders, to government agencies, even to NGOs, civil society organizations, and community at large to understand what is it that's supposed to be done.
So it seems that the plan is quite comprehensive. Is that why it took so long to come up with one in the first place? Because you yourself said that in 2005, the Disaster Management Act was passed in Parliament.
Yes, it is comprehensive and it takes time. This plan has evolved over a period of time. It goes through various rounds of consultations. There was this National Executive Committee, which is headed by the Home Secretary with number of secretaries of number of departments. They prepared it. Then within NDMA, the members of NDMA, the experts, we went through it, we revised it. In the meantime, there was this third UN World Congress on Disaster Management in Japan in a place called Sendai. And there was this Sendai framework which was agreed by 187 countries, India being one of them. Since we have Sendai framework in position, so we have aligned our plan along with the priorities and goals of Sendai framework.
Okay.
Actually, India is probably the first country in the world which has prepared its national plan aligning with the goals and objectives and priorities of Sendai framework.
And of course there was COP21 after that. That too is a factor because climate, the way it's changing, is a big factor in how disasters happen all over the world now and how you need to prepare for them.
Oh yes, COP21 as well as the Sustainable Development Goals. Both these international agreements have also been integrated into this.
So how will this plan now ensure that response to disasters at the lowest level is better now than it was earlier before this plan came into existence?
I can say this, that in responding to any disaster, community, or we call it the first responder, has a main role. But in addition to the response immediately by the people who get affected, then the local administration, the state administration, and in case the calamity is of a very severe nature, then obviously the response from the help and the support from Government of India also goes. Sometimes there is, too many people doing the same thing. Now with this in position, there will be role clarity, there will be absolute no confusion of who's to do what, and that should be done immediately. And one of the special feature of this plan is that most of the portion of this plan is in the form of a matrix, is in the form of a table, which says at different stages of the entire chain of disaster management what is to be done, who's to do what. So if we are talking of, say, early warning system, which are the agencies which have to provide early warning to whom at what time. So this
and all this has evolved because in the past we've seen this has been a major issue in terms of responding to disasters. There was a lack of proper distribution of work, of who should be responding. We have gone through that painful experience, and which is why now we are in a position to tackle that and respond better.
I can say that every disaster brings surprises. It is close to impossible to plan everything in advance. But yes, we've come out with a very clear role matrix of different players who are involved in disaster management. It will certainly be a situation which will be an improved situation, much better situation that we've been doing in the past. But we should be prepared that in case of a disaster, still there will be some areas where there will be need for taking actions on the spot. We are in fact grateful to our Honorable Prime Minister, who actually released this plan, and he is who knows better of how to respond to a disaster than he himself.
And in terms of since the state, as it was in the case of Gujarat, is normally the agency that responds to any disaster in a given situation, the centre is merely in a helpful position when it's asked to help. How will this plan help augment the capacities of states, even at the district level?
So basically, we say there are different levels of disaster. We say level 0, which is a normal situation when there is no disaster. We say level 1, a disaster which can be handled by the local authority and the local people. We say level 2, where the state has to, it's beyond the coping capacity of the local administration, so state has to chip in and to deal with it. And then we have level 3, which is of a very severe intensity, where it's beyond the coping capacity of the state, where the government of India or the central government has to supplement and assist the state government in dealing. But actually, yes, to deal with the disaster is primarily the responsibility of the state government. And disaster management is an area where it is difficult to say that it is for the state government or it's for government of India. Actually, disaster management is an area we can respond to a disaster, we can deal with a disaster when all the stakeholders are involved. The society per se is involved, the NGOs, the civil society organizations, the voluntary organizations, the corporate sector, the local authorities, state, and obviously the government of India. All of us are. And the capacity building is a very, very important aspect of dealing with any disaster.
Okay. And in terms of how well prepared and in terms of the manpower and other requirements, do you feel that the levels are sufficient to tackle most disasters at the moment in the country, be it at the central level or the state level or even lower levels?
In terms of preparedness, it's a very, very difficult thing to say that how to what extent we are prepared.
Because you can never be 100%
no,
prepared.
We can never be 100% prepared. But there are some disasters where we get adequate warning. Say in case of cyclone, we get warning around 72 hours before actual landfall. So cyclone is...
And this is vastly improved compared to the last 10-15 years.
Yes, this is one disaster where we can say, yes, we are almost, we means the respective state governments are almost fully prepared. Actually, the preparedness and the capacity of responding to a cyclone by government of Odisha and by government of Andhra Pradesh and generally by the state governments and India has been globally acknowledged. In the global assessment report of the current year, the improvement or the way in which we responded to cyclone Philin in 2013, cyclone Hudud in 2014, compared to super cyclone of 1999, there's been a remarkable improvement in handling in terms of, say, loss of lives. We lost more than 10,000 people in 1999 super cyclone.
Yes.
But in 2013 in cyclone Philin and in 2014 in cyclone Hudhud, we were able to reduce this loss of lives. And although every loss of life is very, very, every life is precious, but we were able to contain this number from more than 10,000 to just 21, 22, 23. And not only this, the number of people evacuated, the time taken to restore the services, to clear the roads. In 1999, we took up to 15 days. And now in 2013, 2014, we've been able to clear roads within 24 hours.
I won't ask you about earthquakes because you can't predict them, so there's limitation to how much you can prepare for that, or say a meteor hitting somewhere, some part of the country. But what about floods and droughts?
Yes, even in case of floods, which is a recurring phenomenon in many states in India, I think we taken adequate measures to deal with this. The prediction by IMD about the raincast, the warnings by Central Water Commission, and within NDMA, we hold weekly meetings during this thing. We've circulated some of the advisories advising states.
Why I'm asking this is because the kind of response that was there when there were floods in Uttarakhand, even in the recent forest fires, that left a little to be desired.
See, Uttarakhand flood was something which was because of cloudburst. So in case of riverine flood, it's a different ball game. In case of urban flooding, now like we faced in Chennai and earlier in a few other cities, including in Mumbai, it's a different ball game. So cloudburst is difficult to anticipate. But in case of a riverine flood, I think we've taken adequate measures and we've advised states, and we pre-position NDRF to familiarize, to sensitize people and to prepare for flood-like situation.
For all this, of course, funding is a major aspect, and we'll talk about it in a very short, after a very short break, taking a very short break in Candid Conversation right now with R.K. Jain, member, National Disaster Management Authority. Be back with a lot more questions. Keep watching.
मुथूट फाइनेंस, भारत का नंबर 1 भरोसेमंद फाइनेंस डाइवर्सिफाइड ब्रांड, जो आपको देता है भारत का सबसे बढ़िया गोल्ड लोन, यानी सबसे बढ़िया ब्याज दर, सबसे अधिक लोन राशि, घर बैठे ऑनलाइन गोल्ड लोन की सुविधा, ऑनलाइन इंटरेस्ट का भुगतान करें, कॉल करें 1800-120-2838।
सुनो सुनो किसान भाइयों, सुनो सुनो, ओ सुनो सुनो किसान भाइयों, सुनो सुनो, सुनो सुनो किसान भाइयों, ध्यान लगाकर बात सुनो। नीम कोटेड यूरिया आया, खेती में नई क्रांति लाया। इससे यूरिया की क्षमता और बढ़े, नाइट्रोजन जमीन को बेहतर मिले, नीम के गुणों से कीटाणु मरे, पानी को दूषित ना करे। तो भाइयों, नीम कोटेड यूरिया से हो मेहनत सफल, बेहतर हो खेत, पानी और फसल।
कृषि और किसान कल्याण मंत्रालय द्वारा किसान हित में जारी।
मुथूट फाइनेंस, भारत का नंबर 1 भरोसेमंद फाइनेंस डाइवर्सिफाइड ब्रांड, जो आपको देता है भारत का सबसे बढ़िया गोल्ड लोन, यानी सबसे बढ़िया ब्याज दर, सबसे अधिक लोन राशि, घर बैठे ऑनलाइन गोल्ड लोन की सुविधा, ऑनलाइन इंटरेस्ट का भुगतान करें, कॉल करें 1800-120-2838।
सुनो सुनो किसान भाइयों, सुनो सुनो, सुनो किसान भाइयों सुनो 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 किसान भाइयों ध्यान लगाकर बात सुनो। नीम कोटेड यूरिया आया खेती में नई क्रांति लाया। इससे यूरिया की क्षमता और बढ़े, नाइट्रोजन जमीन को बेहतर मिले, नीम के गुणों से कीटाणु मरे, पानी को दूषित ना करे। तो भाइयों नीम कोटेड यूरिया से हो मेहनत सफल, बेहतर हो खेत पानी और फसल।
कृषि और किसान कल्याण मंत्रालय द्वारा किसान हित में जारी।
सुनो सुनो किसान भाइयों सुनो सुनो ओ सुनो सुनो किसान भाइयों सुनो 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 किसान भाइयों ध्यान लगाकर बात सुनो। नीम कोटेड यूरिया आया खेती में नई क्रांति लाया। इससे यूरिया की क्षमता और बढ़े, नाइट्रोजन जमीन को बेहतर मिले, नीम के गुणों से कीटाणु मरे, पानी को दूषित ना करे। तो भाइयों नीम कोटेड यूरिया से हो मेहनत सफल, बेहतर हो खेत पानी और फसल।
कृषि और किसान कल्याण मंत्रालय द्वारा किसान हित में जारी।
Welcome back to Candid Conversation. We are in conversation right now with R.K. Jain, member, National Disaster Management Authority, about the latest, the new National Disaster Management Plan, the first time that we put one in place. I was coming to funding in terms of both disaster response as well as disaster mitigation. What are the provisions there as far as this plan is concerned?
So the plan draws, the provisions from the Act. The Disaster Management Act 2005 is an exhaustive act. It provides for almost all aspects of disaster management, including funding. It provides for institutional arrangement, it provides for authorities, for plans, for policies, guidelines, as also funding. So there is a provision of National Disaster Response Fund, State Disaster Response Fund, which is basically to respond to a disaster. So we have NDRF, we have SDRF. The corpus of SDRF recommended by 14th Finance Commission is more than 60,000 crores for a period of 5 years.
Okay.
It's almost double
That's substantial.
than the corpus recommended for the previous 5 years by the 13th Finance Commission. So there is substantial corpus recommended by 14th Finance Commission to deal with, to respond to any disaster. And in addition to this, there is National Disaster Response Fund, NDRF, from which the assistance is extended to states.
Okay.
But as far as mitigation is concerned, the mitigation is an integral part of the investment decisions taken by different departments.
Both mitigation and prevention.
Both mitigation, prevention, preparedness. Now we call of mainstreaming of DRR, mainstreaming of disaster risk reduction. So we expect, and we, every ministry, every department should mainstream disaster preparedness, disaster mitigation as a part of their development plan. So therefore,
there is no requirement of separate funds for these purposes.
There is, a mechanism under which NDMA do gets money to undertake mitigation projects.
Okay.
We are currently implementing a big cyclone risk mitigation project, and in 2 phases, and the amount is more than 4,000 crores in the coastal states. And we also have a budget line called ODMP, under which we do get money to undertake standalone mitigation projects to undertake some studies or some reports. So we cannot say there is absolutely no money for dedicated mitigation purposes, but bulk of it, bulk of the money for mitigation purposes is embedded in the departmental allocations of different ministries and different departments. The Act also provides for every department and the Ministry of Government of India and similar provisions for the state government to provide adequate funds for undertaking mitigation measures, for undertaking activities in their plans. Every department is supposed to have a disaster management plan, and now that we have a national plan, every department's plan will be in line, will be flowing from this national plan. And what are the activities, whatever activities that they provide in their disaster management plan, they are also under a duty to provide for the funds to undertake those activities.
Now, in the plan, is there a provision where perhaps reports will be prepared as to the levels of preparedness in handling disasters? In the US, the FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, does that every year.
You mean in terms of posts, or in terms of reports, or in terms of data?
In terms of data, hard data, in terms of what kind of provisions are there to handle personnel, equipment, funds annually for various kinds of disasters?
See, there are SOPs. There are SOPs which prescribe this. The states do maintain data relating to disaster management, but as of now we do not have a centralized format for keeping data for disaster management, which again is a very, very important area, because unless we have data relating to disasters, we cannot plan for future. So we are now in the process of thinking of preparing a format on which we will request the state governments to prepare the the information relating to disasters, which can be compiled centrally and can be used. In terms of manpower, as far as NDMA is concerned, yes, we have people at different levels. We have officers. Obviously, we have members. Then we have consultants. We have domain experts. We have officers. So I should say that's not a problem. The funding is not a problem. Manpower is not a problem.
Because in 2013 there was a CAG report in which there were these observations about database for emergency management, which was still not operational, and satellite-based communication and monitoring was also not up to speed. Has that been addressed?
Yes, that is true. That as far as the centralized database is concerned, as I said, we do not have a centralized database relating to disasters in the country. So if you ask me,
has a need been felt, or there is
yes, there is a need. As I said, that this is also one of the priority areas that we think. So if you ask me, the information relating to disasters, say during the last 20 years, last 30 years, based on some standardized format on which all the states prepare and maintain data, they may be maintaining in their own way. There is a need to have some standardized format so that, say for example, heat wave. So we have very recently circulated a format to all the states where heat wave is normally prevalent to prepare and keep information as per the format that we have supplied. So there is a need, and I think this is also a very, very important aspect.
I believe the country has been mapped in terms of vulnerability to disasters. That is something that is in existence.
Oh yes, we have undertaken some of these studies. We gave it to BMPTC to prepare vulnerability maps. GSI also does it. There are different agencies which prepare maps and vulnerability. Yes.
And that is helpful in terms of deployment of personnel as and when required, because apart from that, perhaps area familiarization is also done to ensure that when people need to fan out, they can fan out really quickly.
The deployment of personnel basically of NDRF, which is with Government of India. Obviously the state government also deploys their resources, their manpower, but we supplement by pre-positioning of NDRF. This is as per request of the state government. States are familiar of the areas which normally face these inundation or these problems, or if there is any gathering in any place, the states anticipate and pre-position NDRF.
In terms of unnatural or man-made disasters, as they're called, we've had Bhopal in the 80s, and that was in itself a huge learning exercise. Do you think we've come a long way in terms of responding to such emergencies, God forbid, if they happen?
Yes, certainly we've come a long way for all kinds of hazards, all kinds of calamities, including these so-called man-made or chemical disasters. We have experts within NDMA, and even the respective ministries have prepared. They have SOPs, and we have two types of plans. We call it on-site and off-site. Any unit coming up has an on-site plan and have the resources to implement the on-site. In addition to on-site plan, the districts in which such industries are located, at the district level we have an off-site plan where the plan contains of the measures that have to be taken in case of such unfortunate eventuality.
And for any disaster management plan to work, it should have the people at its core, because normally it's the people who respond first to any disaster, then only help from state or center can come in. Apart from that, what sort of a role do you see for the media and civil society in tackling and fighting disasters in the country?
Media and civil society has a major role in tackling this problem, because as you said, that any response from the official machinery will take some time. It's the people who have to respond first. It's the people who get affected first. So the capacity building, the sensitization, the training of the community at large is very, very important. We do conduct mock drills and mock exercises. We've done more than 500 mock drills and mock exercises to sensitize people at large. But the media, which has an outreach all over, has a major role. We have to ensure that during such time the information is passed on, the accurate information is passed on. There is not unnecessary panic because of these things.
Because that is counterproductive.
That is counterproductive, and media does play a good role in this, can play a big role in this. Media can also play a big role in creating awareness, especially about do's and don'ts. So if there is flood, what should be done, what should not be done? If there is, the threat of, say, cyclone or landslide, what should be done, what should not be done? Media can also play a big role in creating awareness of the people to make sure that the houses that they live in, the houses that they construct, are resilient to disasters, are resilient to any earthquake. Because if our housing stock is resilient, it can withstand earthquake, more than half the battle is won.
So clearly there's a role for every segment of the society, and each one needs to play their own part in ensuring that we are as free from disasters as possible. Thank you so much for joining us today, sir, and speaking to us on Candid Conversation. Thank you very much.